everyone, my name's Annette and welcome back to Cottoverdi. If you're new to my channel, we garden here in South Buckinghamshire in the UK and we have a gorgeous walled garden. It's a very English country cottage garden style and I love flowers, I love all plants and I love growing things. And my channel is all about showing you what I'm up to in the garden with my husband Richard and how we do things and maybe giving you some hints and tips and inspiration for your garden. This is another one of my weekly vlogs showing you the little mini projects that we do to take care of the garden and bring it along, and I hope you enjoy it. This mess behind me is what I'm going to deal with right now. So this tree, we've had it in this pot for maybe 10 years and I've really loved it. I just love the sort of weeping nature of it. It grows really slowly. It's some kind of evergreen. If I find the label in the pot when we dig it up, I'm going to let you know what it is, but I can't remember because we planted it so long ago. At that point in time, I wasn't trying to remember things because I wasn't making any YouTube videos. But I really love the weeping nature of this tree and it's breaking my heart that it's dying. I don't know if it's dead because it's still got a lot of green on the tips. Now, it's not from lack of water because we do water this religiously and it's been in this pot for absolutely years. So I'm not sure what's going on. I'm worried that there might be vine weevils or vine weevil larvae eating the roots. Anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to dig it up today and plant something else in there. And then if the roots look okay, what I might do is put it into another spot in the garden, sort of like a nursery bed, to see whether it recovers. But first of all, we need to see what's going on. So the first thing I'm going to do this morning is I'm going to take out the campanula that's at the bottom. Now this campanula is really pretty. I'll put the name up on the screen. I think it begins with P, but it sort of makes these little mounds, and in spring we get loads of flowers, and then I've got a couple of flowers on one of the plants at the moment, so it has sort of rebloomed. I did deadhead it. We've also got some calibrachoa in here that I put in really quickly for the wedding, but I'm going to take that out too. Two of them have died because we literally just put them in like 3 weeks ago, and I guess I didn't water them sufficiently, but it was just a splash of colour at the time. But I haven't taken care of them since then, I think, because I've lost heart because the tree has died, and so I just kind of gave up on this pot. But I do want to save the campanula. It looks really good here because it makes really nice, neat mounds, and so I want to save that campanula to put it in under the new tree. I can't see anything wrong with it. Richard's offered to help me get the compost out of the container. What I have discovered, having said that we watered it really well, is that actually the compost is incredibly dry. So maybe we killed the plant. Now it has got some green on it. And I'm hoping that we can rejuvenate it because I can't see any vine weevil larvae, I can't see any bugs, the roots don't look rotten, they're not sodden. So what we're going to do to mitigate, just in case I've missed some bugs, is we're going to take out a lot of the compost that's in there at the moment and put it on the compost heap, and the compost heap can deal with it. And then we're going to put new compost in and plant the new tree. And this tree that I've taken out, I am going to pot up into a pot. I might actually put it in one of the raised beds and just make sure that it gets watered because this compost is like powder, it's dry. So having thought that we watered it well, we didn't water it well. We were really rubbish at it. And I feel really guilty and really sad because I love that tree and I have not been able to find another one like it. Okay, so we've emptied well, quite a lot actually. We've emptied about probably 2 bags worth of compost. It's sort of halfway down the pot, and we're going to fill it up again with new compost. We're just using the ordinary multi-purpose peat-free compost that we always use, and we're going to mix some gravel in so that it's got good drainage. And then we have had an irrigation wire in this container ever since we put it in, but we've never hooked it up, and Richard has promised to hook it up so that we don't have to keep remembering to water it. I don't know why we've never hooked it up. It's just one of those things. We put the pipe in and then didn't do anything with it. It's really annoying. We're just going to fill this up, and then I'll show you what we're popping in here instead of the gorgeous umbrella tree that we had. Okay, so this is the plant we've chosen. It's not as tall, which is a little bit disappointing, but this is the best we could find at the moment, and I want to get something in here and just see how it does, and I couldn't keep looking at the dead tree anymore. So this is what we've chosen. It is a Chamaecyparis nanogracilis, and it's a standard. So ordinarily these are planted in the ground and they're really slow growing, but they would grow to about 2 meters tall if allowed. I'm not sure how this is going to do on a standard, but it's going to be really slow growing anyway, so I don't think we'll have any problems in the near future. But this is what I've chosen to pop in there. It likes to be protected, but it also likes sun, so it's going to get sort of, well, it's got sun at the moment actually just coming from there, but it'll be shaded by our Acer grissom for quite a lot of the day. But it will get afternoon sun, definitely, being here on the patio. I think it looks really nice. I love the sort of undulating shell-like formations. It's really cute. Richard really liked it too, which is important. I do wish it was a little bit taller. I'm sort of feeling the difference in height quite a bit, but this is what we've got, and this is what we're going with for now. What I am going to do is knock some of this sawdust mulch that they've put on the top, or bark or whatever it is. I don't want that mulch on here, and I want to see where the true height is, the true level is, so that I planted at the right height. Okay. I'm thinking that I can go a little bit higher than that. And I want to mix some plant food in. Okay. So because this plant's obviously been in this pot for a little while, the roots are wrapping around in a circle, and we want to break that up to, it'll basically initiate the roots sort of reaching out and going in other directions. Oop. And then I'm going to replant my campanula because I love it here. Kind of looks like it's on a little bit of a lean, but it's not. It's, well, maybe it is on a tiny bit of a lean. It's planted up and the campanula are back in, and I don't think I'm going to plant any more annuals in there this year. I'm just going to leave it as it is and they can all bed in. We're going to set up the irrigation system. That's the royal we. Richard is going to set up the irrigation system. My thumbs just aren't strong enough to do the connectors and he's better at it. He's had a lot more practice. I do want to, in case you've missed my container tour, I just wanted to point out this gorgeous plant here. I absolutely love it. It's an ornamental oregano and it's absolutely gorgeous. I think it's called Kent Beauty and it's so pretty. I really love it, but I'm quite pleased with this, apart from the lack of height. I don't know, watch this space to see whether I replace it in future years and this tree ends up in one of my borders. I do think, I don't know, I'm just not used to it being a little bit shorter. Oh, so we didn't find the tag for the other tree, but I have made a tag for this one. I'm going to pop this in here so that I've got it for the future. Another little job I want to do today is I want to deadhead this Heuchera behind me. This one is called Palace Purple, and I realised when I was doing my dark foliage YouTube video, I've just posted that if you want to take a look, that this really needs to be tidied up and it'll look so much better. It's still flowering, there are still some fresh flower spikes, but I want to get rid of all the brown ones. They don't need to be there. I think that looks so much better. And now the ones that are in bloom can really shine. I love this clematis. This one's called Coriana Amber and it's so pretty, and I just let it trail through the Heuchera. Oh, there's another one that needs to come off. So I've decided to deadhead this little mess over here. It actually looks set or okay until you see the bits that are dead behind it. This is a dwarf lady's mantle. It's called Alchemilla erythropoda, I think. I'll put the name up on the screen. But it's absolutely gorgeous and it's still flowering in August. But I do need to deadhead the spring blooms. So I'm just going to grab those and do exactly the same, cut back to the base with the blooms, and that will leave the gorgeous little lime green flowers to enjoy now. I really like this one because it's a really good ground cover. It's perfect for the edge here, and it doesn't grow very fast. It will self-seed, but mine hasn't self-seeded particularly, and it apparently grows about 15 centimetres by 15 centimetres, but I'd say mine are a bit more than that. They're about 20 by 20. So yeah, it's growing really well here. It's in part shade and it's very happy. I think that looks so much better. You can really see the lime green popping. That is a snapdragon called Potomac lavender, and they've fallen over. I mean, there's one that's still standing up right there, but all the rest have fallen over, and I'm just going to leave them be. I think they look really nice with the limey acid green of the Alchemilla. We are entering our fourth heat wave of the summer. I can't believe this weather. I mean, it's glorious sunshine, don't get me wrong, I love it, but we really desperately need rain, and we're just not used to this heat here in the UK. I mean, maybe, you know, once a summer, twice at the most, but this is our fourth heat wave, which is astonishing. Is this the new normal? I don't know. Anyway, today's little projects that I've got to do, I have taken delivery of some gorgeous Delphiniums. They are a lovely soft lilac-y colour, and I think they're called I'll put the name up on the screen. I think it's Highlander Cha-Cha, and they just look absolutely gorgeous, and they will fit really well in my borders. But what I'm going to do is pot them up, because that's what the nursery has advised. They've come in really small pots, and they just said to pot them up now and take them through the winter in their containers, and then plant them out late winter, early spring into their final positions, which works fine for me because my borders are absolutely chock-a-block at the moment, and where I want to put them is not free space because it's been filled with dahlias. So I'm going to pot up these delphiniums and show you what they look like. They actually look really healthy, and then I'm also going to sow some seeds. I'm under the parasol now because it's so hot and I really don't want to do this in full sun, so excuse this weird shape above my head. It's just a parasol. These are the plants. These are my delphiniums. They look quite good, don't they? But they've got they're in tiny little pots, so they've got very small root systems. So I guess that's why the nursery has advised us to pot it up, and they said to pot them up into 3 or 4 litre pots, and I have got 3 litre containers. I've managed to find some old 3 litre containers, so that's what I'm going to be using. I am potting them up into ordinary multi-purpose peat-free compost. If you're interested in which one I use, that's in the description below. But these, I think, are going to be absolutely gorgeous. They're going to grow to between 75 and 90 centimetres tall, so nearly 3 foot, and they'll grow 40 centimetres wide, and I've got 6 of them, so I'm planning to use them in 2 groups of 3, and they will flower all summer long, especially if you deadhead them. So delphiniums, you can deadhead down to the side shoots, and then those side shoots will flower, and so you'll just get continuous flowers. They last a really long time, delphinium flowers as well. They're lovely, gorgeous spikes, and they're great as cut flowers, but also fabulous in the borders. The only thing we have to be careful of with delphiniums is that the slugs and snails really, really love them. So when they start breaking dormancy in the spring, so all of this will die down in the winter. They're fully hardy though, down to minus 20 degrees centigrade, so it'll all die down, but when they start putting up new shoots in the spring, that's when the slugs and snails will come out and start munching them. So do try to protect them, pick off any slugs or snails you see. I tend to go out in the evenings with my torch and pick them off. That's how I protect my delphiniums. These might not need staking, but I probably will just have permanent supports in place for the delphiniums, because otherwise I forget to stake them and they fall over, which is super annoying. So I'm just going to pot these up now. So they're very pot bound. I'm not surprised we've been told to pot them on. I'm just going to break the roots up at the bottom, because that tells the plant to start making more roots and spreading out. Oh, lost a leaf. So in the nursery said the reason we should pot them up is because it will give the plant an opportunity to make better roots. Rather than putting them straight into the border, they'll make more roots, and then they'll be really robust when we plant them out in the spring. I mean, I could probably just plant them out in the autumn actually, once the borders are cleared, but it's kind of easier to protect them when they're in my nursery rather than in the ground, but I'll see. Decide what happens at a later date. Ooh, these are slug eggs, and they are not going in this pot. I'm going to sow my Hesperus. It's super simple. If you're wondering when you can sow Sweet Rocket, you can pretty much sow it all year. So it is a biennial, but does come back again. It's super hardy, down to -20. It can cope with all temps. That's centigrade I'm talking about. I'm always talking about centigrade. They will come back again the next year, but the flowers are better from a fresh sowing. So I always sow every year. Last year I sowed on the 11th of July. I looked it up so that I could let you know. It is now, I think it's the 11th of August actually, so I'm a month later. It's fine to sow Sweet Rocket anytime up until the spring really, if you want flowers next year, because it's a particular biennial that needs something called vernalization. Vernalization is when a plant needs a long cold period in order to produce flowers. But if you sow in the spring, you'll just grow really nice big plants, and then they'll go all the way through the year until they get the really cold weather in the winter, and then they'll flower the next year. So it's not the end of the world to sow them in spring. You just won't get flowers that year because these plants do need that cold period. So I'm sowing them in August, but if you don't have your seeds yet, you can sow all the way up until the end of autumn. Just make sure they get a good long cold period through the winter, and then you're going to get flowers next year. They are kind of cut and come again, so if you deadhead them, the side shoots will produce more blooms. I really like the white one, but I don't have any Alba seeds this year, so I am sowing Alma Prost's lilac mix, and I'm sowing Marston Farm Girls very, very, very pale lilac or lavender. Which one is it? Lavender, very, very pale lavender. And those are the two seeds that I have. Now in the past I've sown ordinary Hesperus, which is the deep sort of violet-y lilac colour. It's not very dark, but it's kind of medium purple. And I've sown the white one, and I really enjoy those in the spring. They flower in sort of May time, and they just, I don't know, it heralds the start of, you know, all the roses in June and things like that. I love Sweet Rocket and I don't want to be without it. These can be sown direct, so you do not have to sow them in seed trays. I am sowing them in my 8-cell seed trays. I always use these, and I will put a link in the description because so many people ask me about them. They fit really nicely into one of these trays, so you can get 4 of them into one of these ordinary trays, and I like them because it means that I can sow just 8 of one variety and I don't have to sow a whole tray of them. And you can sprinkle them into any pot at all. You could sprinkle them into just an ordinary plant pot, but I get lazy about pricking them out, so I prefer to keep them in here, and then they can grow to a good size before I have to pot them on. And I probably will pot these on before I plant them out in the autumn. So I intend to have these in the ground once I've taken the dahlias out, hoping that the ground isn't too frozen. It shouldn't be. But once the dahlias and all my annuals come out of the borders, I will then pop these in, and then they'll flower for me next year. Sweet Rocket can be sown direct. I don't know if I've said that already, so you could sow it straight into your borders. I'm sowing into cell trays because I find it much easier to look after them here, and I don't have any space in my borders at the moment. They are jam-packed full. So what I'm doing is just pressing the seeds down to make sure they've got really good contact with the soil. Now I haven't pre-moistened my compost. I'm going to bottom water them afterwards, so I'll stick them into a tray and just let them absorb water, and then they just need to go in a sheltered spot. And the only reason they need to go in a sheltered spot, well, there are 2 reasons. The first one is because we're having a heat wave, so I don't want to put them in baking sun, because then what will happen is the seeds will start to germinate and then dry out if they get too dry on the surface of the compost. You could put vermiculite on top, but it's really not necessary. And the other reason is because if it does rain, if it rains, or if it's really windy, if it rains, then the soil would just get messed up. If it's really windy, the seeds could get blown away. So it's best to put them in a protected spot. They don't need to be in full sun. It's perfectly warm enough at this time of year for them to germinate. So possibly a shady spot up against the wall of a building, something like that. That would be a good spot for them. You don't need to cover them. If you want to, you can. If you want to germinate them in your greenhouse, then by all means do that. I don't have a greenhouse, so mine are just going to be in a nice shady spot against the wall of a building, and I will look after them that way. And then definitely, you know, keep them moist, keep an eye on them. either spritz the top of the compost or with a spray of water, or you can bottom water them again until they germinate. And then once they germinate, we can start overhead watering them. And they should not need feeding, because I will pot them up as soon as I can, well, as soon as they're a good size, once they have their first true leaves probably. And they shouldn't need feeding because they will be potted on or planted out in the near future. It's only a couple of months until autumn now. That's it for this weekly vlog. I really hope you've had fun as I potted around in my garden and did a couple of tasks. I really enjoy actually the little projects a bit more than the big projects, which sometimes can seem really overwhelming. And yeah, all of these things are just exciting because then we know that we've got things to come in future seasons. And I really love growing things from seed. So that's one of the most enjoyable jobs for me, is sowing things and watching them grow. Anyway, I really hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you all next time.